country at least 70%. 70%. So they're trying to find ways to achieve their goal.
Going back to history, that's where the discrimination of cannabis came from.
Yes.
Because a lot of Mexicans was bringing hemp to the U.S. They used to make cloth, plastic, clothes, even biodiesel.
They should know the metes and bounds. They should have their deeds. They should know where to get this information.
And when Nasri speaks about, that we're already behind the education system, there are some schools that they were moving in a good direction.
How can we mold boys into good men? Society in crisis.
That's the game with the road. We problem now with bloody politicians. We play that game there and think everybody fool. Tell everybody what they do. And if you get money, share it with me now. Share it. But
You think they understand?
most of them don't even know where they go on. That's the game with the road. We problem now with bloody politicians.
Society in crisis.
So they're trying to find ways to achieve their goal.
Looking for the ultimate sea view getaway? Then Sea Belize Vacation Rentals and Tours, located at 5 miles Philip Golson Highway near the Halover Bridge, is your perfect sea view getaway. Come relax in one of our beautiful air-conditioned sea view apartment, studios, sea view rooms, or suites, all with flat screen television, hot and cold bath, and unlimited access to our spacious and refreshing 40 by 16 foot pool with 6 to 4 feet depth. So you can enjoy that fun and refreshing dive or dip in the pool. We sell ice cold drinks, so you can relax and unwind on our overwater or poolside decks. Contact us at 501-615-4485, 65 or 67.
Good night and welcome to the Zenaida Moya Show. I am your host, Zenaida. It is a pleasure to be here. This is the first Tuesday
of January 2023.
That's right, that's right. So all of us who made it to 2023, congratulations, congratulations. And I guess it's what you make of, it's what we will make of the year. And I think that is what we're going to have to look at. We're going to have to try and ensure we make the best of the year.
Correct.
So in studio, I want to, before he speaks, I want to introduce, for those of you who don't know who he is, Mr. Brian Plummer. He is an educator, an author, and a foreign columnist, and he will be joining us tonight as we discuss a very important topic, one that will definitely, impact and in some instances control many people's lives, and depending on how it's handled, just about everybody's lives if things goes as is planned, no? So I want to just say that we'll be discussing about digital currency. The United States of America is going fully digital. It is said that it may take 4 years, it might be earlier,
They have a pilot project.
So let me just go ahead and introduce Mr. Plummer and just say that for those of you who know anyone who wants to watch on TV, remember it's simultaneously also on Maximum Radio and Television throughout the country of Belize, every single district and town. This is being shown, and of course we're on all the different entities, all the social medias that you can think about, LinkedIn, YouTube, every one of them, Twitter and so forth. We're on all of them, MadLab, DigiTV, Twitch, everybody. All right, so good night, Mr. Plummer.
All right, good night. Good night, everyone in TV land and internet land. I'm glad to be here, but this 2023 is part of the digital age, where everything is being digitized, right? And the US, in November, the New York Federal Reserve did a 12-week pilot project of testing the digital dollar.
Yes.
Right? It's a test to see how good and try to work out the kinks.
Yes.
Right? And they have legislation, the US have legislation, it hasn't been passed yet, but it's in the House, that deals with digital dollar. The legislation is on pause, it's there, and so they're gearing up.
Okay.
But not just the US, in 2020.
But before you get into it, all right, because you're going full speed ahead, a lot of people who might just be tuning in don't understand exactly what it is. And so we have to say, first of all, we as we know it, we use money simply as, you know, a tool. At the moment, most people use money as a tool. We don't even think about how money is made. That's a whole other story that I could get into, but I'll hold off for now. But money is made in different ways. Some of us will have, you know, the usual money, what we think of as money, which is still money, of course. You know, you have the paper currency, you have coins, then you have the central banks and the commercial banks, that money is made differently. For example, central banks, they could go ahead and they could print money, all right? Even in Belize, you know, of course we don't print it here, it's printed in England. And different countries, they print their money. And of course, commercial banks, money is being made just by loans.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, when you go to a bank, you think, a lot of times people think that they're borrowing other people's money.
Only 10% they have to have on the central bank, print the rest by your guarantee.
Yeah, it's a digital, it's like a transactional, you know, it's transactional.
You back the loan.
You back it fully, and that loan literally becomes money.
Correct.
You pay interest on it, so that money is, that money is born.
Correct.
Make that money.
It's called fractional reserve banking.
Correct.
That the bank only have to have 10% of whatever money it wants, and the central bank literally prints the rest. Literally.
So a lot of us don't understand how money is made.
And that's true. And generally, according to the research I did, about 97% of money in the world, and Belize would fall into that, is created by private banks when people get loans.
Yes.
Government produce a small fraction to do their business with borrowing, bonds and so on, whatever. But the majority of money is created by the private bank.
Yes.
Through the central bank, right? Even including over 90%. Now, money is a medium of exchange. Instead of barter, instead of I give you a pig and you give me a shovel,
yes,
or whatever, we approximate the value of this shovel is worth $20, so I'll give you $20 for it, or $25.
Yes.
So it's a medium of exchange. And it's a matter of governments. Governments are the only authority that could print and sanction money in every country. Governments, right? If you produce money, it's counterfeit. If government produce it, it's legal.
It's legal.
Right?
And then in the US, for example, it's a whole nother story. As a matter of fact, if you get into the history of how money came about, and you get in the history of even all the different central banks around the world, you know, that's a whole other thing of the war and the system.
The first modern central bank was the Bank of England, and all other central banks are modeled after that.
And that came about by a group of men.
Yeah.
They met secretly.
Yes.
Secretly, it comprised of persons from the treasury, particular key rich men, the wealthiest of the wealthy. At this time, you had like 6 men who owned like 80% of the wealth. It was filthy rich, just how you know about the Rothschilds and these people, and certain people. And bankers, and so it's these individuals who came, they secretly, they met, and then it's them who came about and they signed a bill, and they even presented it, and the bill had the name of one of the persons that was part of the meeting, and then, you know, the politicians, they were like, what is this name there, you know, because he's supposed to be in government. Hold on one second. He's supposed to be, you know, a part of this, and why is his name there? So they became suspicious. Remember, you'll always have an opposing side, which is good, because it's that. And then what happened is 2 of the wealthier men came, 2 of these wealthy men came, and they were the one who then they changed the name, and they took this bill, and this bill then had the name of the Federal Reserve, so it no longer had the name of that particular elected official, and that is how it came about. And from then, all other systems in all the different countries are modeled off of that. And so you guys have to understand. So when we tell you about who controls money, you need to know the backdrop, and you need to understand that money is something that is controlled by the central bank. In the US, the Federal Reserve, and these people control, and of course, the commercial banks also control it. So that's the backdrop.
Correct. And to lay into what you're saying, they don't call the American Central Bank, they call it the Federal Reserve because people didn't like central banks. So they changed the name.
Correct.
It's still a central bank, it does the same function as the
They were very suspicious. As a matter of fact, when the US broke away, remember the war, when they broke away, their people were very knowledgeable about central bank, and they were very squeamish. They did not trust central bank. They didn't even want to hear about it, so they didn't have that. People were very well in tune what money was. So it's not like now.
They didn't want it, but eventually they got the central bank. Now, where we're at now, all of this is linked to what I call a biosecurity state. Let's go back. We could go further, but we'll go to the UN, which started in 1945, where after World War II, to bring peace to the world and ensure. That was the first time that they wanted to really centralize government and centralize control. From then on, you had the next move. The next big move was 9/11, which occurred on the September 11, 2001.
Well, 1971 is when they brought out the system, right?
Well, in 1944, they had what you call a Bretton Woods Accord, where the US dollar became the world reserve currency. It was backed by gold, right? The US had, depends on what measure, more than 50% of the world's gold, right? Because it was like China manufacturing everything and producing everything, and people paid them in gold and so on. Not like now with fiat currency. But the Bretton Woods, but in 1971, European countries mainly were asking for gold because the US dollar was convertible. Nixon took the US off of the gold standard. 15th of August.
President Nixon.
Yes, President Nixon.
U.S.
Correct. And they got into the petrodollar, which is backed by oil, mostly Saudi Arabia. You cannot buy oil except in US dollars. It's changing a bit now with Russia and other countries.
Russia and
China. But generally, more than 90% of the world oil is sold in US dollars right now.
Yes.
And now, money is what controls commerce. To live, you have to pay to live in this world. So you need some form of money. You could do it indirectly, like in Belize, we have the Mayas who they mostly farm, but when they need money, maybe they sell some of their produce.
Yes.
If they come in the city, you could do it like that, where you need little money. But at some point, if you want to interact in civilization, you're going to need money, right? And so, when 9/11 happened, that was very pivotal in history. Privacy was a thing of the past.
Yes.
They had what you call know your customer, where if I send money, if Granny, not even me, send money through Western Union, MoneyGram or anyway, Granny have to give her business. You understand where you get the money from? Who they say, well, everything.
That is how they handle things now.
Correct. No privacy.
Yeah.
If you put money in an account, the privacy became a thing of the past. They look into your background. Before 9/11, there was a thing of banking, privacy and things like that. But that's gone. That was the first step. Because everybody accepted, we don't need privacy. And so that's the first step.
Just a quick, let me do a little, good night, Nancy De Paz, and Moya, good night, Happy New Year to you guys as well. Good night, Geraldo Koch, Orlando Pelayo, good night. I want to say that Nancy wants to know, is our money safe in the banks?
Well, not really, because the banks, especially after what happened in Greece, and the G7 and the G20 agreed that if any banks fail throughout the world, they're going to have bail-in, meaning that the people who have money in the banks are going to pay the bank. Because there was a case in I think around 14 in England that proved that whenever you put money in the bank, you are credited to the bank. It's not your money, it's the bank's money.
Yes.
They owe it, and you have like, they owe you, but if they go bankrupt, they don't have to pay you.
Yes.
Because they can't. So it's not 100% safe, but in the United States,
it's definitely not fully safe, and especially with all the runs that have happened over the years.
We saw Greece is a good example. Greece is
and not only that, I mean, if you look at the devaluation of the dollar, I mean, look at Argentina, for example. And
they devalue everything.
You understand? It was so terrible that they were using money like nothing, like to make stuff out of money, art, money literally value nothing.
Most people don't know is that when you give your money to the bank, you become a creditor of the bank. The bank owes you. It's their money now. That's why they could lend it or do whatever they want with it. Right? So, but it's not, the only good reason I could say is safe in that it's very difficult to rob a bank. It's easier to rob you. If you have money, because the bank has security and insurance and a whole other thing. That's the only way in which, in terms of robbery, it's safer to have our money in the bank than on you.
And money is just run on fiat, people, because
that's why it's named fiat currency.
Fiat currency, because it's not really backed by anything. It's not backed by anything. It's not backed by gold.
No, not like one time.
So literally, it's just fiat. You have this money that otherwise would value nothing. You tear up that money, write on it like note paper. But because of faith, because of trust, we come together in a civilized society, and we say, okay, we will take this money that is printed by whoever, and we're gonna use that as a fiat.
To show you how money is safe, most people don't know. Since the Federal Reserve started in 1913, the US dollar has lost 97% of its value compared to gold. Gold was worth $35 an ounce. Right now, gold is around $2,000 an ounce. It's not that gold went up, it's the value of the dollar went down.
Yeah, because the more
Gold
money that goes into the system, in the economy, the less value that money
And US
has.
dollar is a
Okay?
one of the strongest currency in the world, and just from 1913, you do the math, it lost about 97% of its purchasing power.
And that's why you have certain countries like even Russia, they are looking at gold and they are looking to move away from using the US, you know, as a backup. And
I have a feeling that eventually the BRICS will have a currency. They already launched.
Tell them what BRICS means.
BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. They are a block of countries that produce an alternate power block. They have their own banks like the IMF and the World Bank. They have already decided to launch their own currency. They trade together in there. They don't use the US dollar in lots of their trades. They swap currencies. You give me your Russian ruble, I give you my India rupee or the Chinese renminbi. They swap their own.
What do you feel about that? Because that is, we're moving swiftly towards that, especially with this war. Certain things have been put in place that have facilitated us moving here. So much so that even the cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, some of you may not understand what is cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, but because of that, the US has already, that is the reason why they have moved into this pilot phase. They literally are at that point.
They're testing it.
Because they're trying to also compete against those as well.
Correct. You mind give me a couple minutes? In 1993 or thereabout, I read a paper by the National Security Agency. Way back then, here, 90s. I was just recently out of sixth form, and so on. And you know that they are proposing that from way back then that the US should have a digital, and in 2000, the Bank of International Settlement, which is the central bank of central bank in Basel, Switzerland, talks about digital currency, and it said in May they produced a paper. I live in the intellectual world. I read the paper that says 90% of the world's central bank are going to have a digital currency, or exploring it is their word they use. And to our neighbor of the Bahamas, they have a digital currency called the SAN. S-A-N-D, SAN. And also China in January 4th of this year, last year, launched their digital yuan, digital dollar. So the whole world has decided.
But they have already put things in place, because what really is digital currency? If you look at the fact that, for example, even over the pandemic, you had people receiving money. How did those money come about? And you also have had in the past, and this has been for years, people getting coupons, and sometimes it's just a printed something, or it's emailed to
I know that they were, during the pandemic in Belize, they had the National Bank of Belize had some digital wallets for people.
Yeah, and
that
they're literally moving towards that, even with the recently, I think the Ministry of Health and I think e-cash or digital wallet or whatever it is, they were along with the United Nations. Look at it, people. So they went ahead recently and they said they were going to give these immigrant families, children and families money, and that's how they're going to give these money digitally, and so with these digi wallets. And so when we talk about going digital, you have to understand that this is not far-fetched, this is not conspiracy.
No, it's already happening.
This is already happening, and it has been happening. So they are moving now, and what they're saying is, you have to understand what they're saying, right? Now, without me casting any aspersions or anything like this is fact. What they're saying is that they're moving towards this method so that certain people who otherwise would not be able to get into the system easily,
Unbanked people.
unbanked people will now have these digital wallets to use.
Yeah.
So they're saying, okay, it's for the good of humanity. No, the good of humanity, no. People, they will say, listen, they will say, oh, let's everybody come get their e-wallets or what have you. They might give you, normally what did they give for when you were to take the job? They gave little freebies to people to come, and you know people are poor, a lot of people are poor, so they took the little freebies and they went to do it. The same thing they're going to do, but now listen to this, and I will tell you, I went through the control of your money, because these monies are programmable.
Correct.
And so these monies, they can block your money. I'll tell you recently what I went through so that you understand the possible repercussions of what we go through. All right, so the era that I'm on, I normally would receive money, let's say from abroad. And so normally they would send it through, you know, a particular avenue or entity, and I would be able to receive money on my card. What happened recently, you know, they have new owners, new managers, and new regulations in Europe. The money now is, that particular entity say, oh, we're no longer partner, all right? We're no longer partner with this entity that you receive money from. And so they sent back my money. Money that I earned, they sent it back. And for months, listen good, for months, every time when the entity would still try to find a way, okay, you say do ABC, I'm going to do ABC so that Zenaida, Miss Moya can get her money. They would try to do that. This particular entity just kept sending back my money, sending back my money. For months, I was unable to get money. And that, if you don't have a safety net, you can go bankrupt as a business person. You can go bankrupt. This is not only what happened with Mine Beer, you know, how they took their money and they have their money, seized their money, the government through what the entity name now, they just seize the money. No. This is literally what can happen to you as well. They can just say, okay, we won't collect your money, we won't process your money, and you're left there hanging, and you will have BTL, you will have the utility companies, and if you don't pay them, they could cut you. You know, with one switch, they could do that. And this is what we have to be careful of, because the moment we don't have cash to be able to go and bypass the system and go about and be free, so to speak. And when I say cash, you know, fiat money, you call it, and it's only digital, they literally can just block it, or they can say, okay, this money is only to spend on
you can't buy beer. They were doing
broccoli and things like that. Then you're done.
They were doing it in Australia, where they limit people the amount of beer you could buy. In fact, in Belize recently during the holidays, they were saying after so much hours you can't buy beer. They're already practicing it. These people are.
So it's controlled.
It's people accept it. It becomes a norm. The government could tell you can't do this, you can't do that.
What we will have to move to ensure that we don't move to the point where they say, okay, it's only e-cash that is accepted.
Well, I think that's going to take a long while. And I saw a video with the governor of the English Central Bank talking about they like this digital currency because it's programmable and you could monitor people and you could restrict them. And also in China, very interesting, you see like how your credit has expiration date. When you buy it $5, it's only 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
In China, they put expiration date on the money. You have to spend it by a certain time.
Otherwise, it's worthless.
Yeah, just like a credit. It's to keep
it credit.
And you think I teach math, and all my life I studied, I never hear about negative interest rate until recently. That means if you have money, it get less, grow. These people are introducing negative interest rate. They can't introduce it when you have it in the bank and you could take it out. But if you can't, if it's digital, how are you going to take it out? Explain that to me.
Because what happened in people?
Negative, your money will get less. They have negative interest rate in Europe, in Japan, all over the world.
Because when you have your money, normally you will think that you have money and everything is okay. Let me just say, Nancy says, I hope people are paying attention and aware of what's happening and won't be caught off guard like they did with COVID-19. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing because...
Ask anybody, have you ever heard of negative interest rate? That's new to me just during this 2020, around this economic COVID crash. Europe and Japan and all over the world started to use negativity. That means your money get less.
Now listen, people.
And you can't save. That means you own nothing and be happy because you don't have no generational wealth.
And it's an eye-opener because, listen, most of us will say, oh, it's very nice to be able to have, just use your, for example, your credit card or your debit card to be able to pay for goods and services, correct? And a lot of people, oh, it's easier, you know, you don't have to go into a long line and all that. Okay, all right, fine. No, that's all good. But how when they block the source of your money? Like I told you what went through, they block it, or your money now, they literally say, hey, listen, we will not accept money from you if you are doing vacation rentals, or we will not accept money from you if you are selling clothes to all those people who are dealing with clothes. Oh, we don't deal with clothes, so sorry, we can't process your money, or you do consultancy, we can't process, we don't deal with that. And you're there, you've worked, and you think that you will be using that money and you will have that money at a particular period of time to be able to meet your expenses, live and be happy and be contented, and you are unable to get your money. This can happen, I'm telling you, and you don't even have to go for a lot of. There's a number of people, not me, nobody sends me any money unless I work. I don't have anybody who gives me free money. I'm telling you, I'm not like some people get free money. They say they have family abroad and there's money transfers and the Belizean Americans send money to their family. I don't have any Belizean American that sends me any money. I'm not that fortunate. I have never been that fortunate. Anybody sends me money, but what I'm telling you now is that there's a lot of people who depend on money from their family abroad. And for a while now, you very well know that even getting money through, let's say, Western Union and MoneyGram, it has been very difficult.
That's where a lot of questions.
They have moved towards really reducing the amount of money that you can receive, and even money that to be able to send, you have to go through central bank. So there's total control, and they do it all in the name of, you know, knowing your customer, money laundering, trying to fight you know, all these terrorism and so forth that
one
they
of the
say.
things I want people to know, this isn't theory. Good example is when you had the trucker strike in Canada, when the government seized those digital money. GoFundMe, all those other money, there was all kind of different ways. So it's not theory. The government or whoever, the authorities will seize the money at their whims.
Yes.
If you're not playing ball. I told you in 2020 December, I read a paper from the IMF that says that when you go for bank loan, your internet history should be a part of it. Whether maybe you go and watch some anti-vaxxers videos, or you go and watch some terrorist videos, whatever videos, and so you should not get the loan. So this is all I call it.
And whatever happens, listen, we have spoken about, you know, certain things is blockchain and certain things happening, and they set, you know, they set it up, and then what happens is they implement it throughout the world.
Correct.
And that's what is being looked at now, because if you understand, over 100 countries now, about 30 countries are already in it.
Yes.
But over 100 countries are already committed and going into it, and Belize is one of them.
We already have e-cash as one.
We are one of them.
Give me a couple minutes to explain what is
happening.
Good
night, Keenan Flowers. He said, blessed good night to you as well, Brian.
Good night. We have been creating a biosecurity state where There is no such thing as privacy. Facebook and Instagram, people don't keep nothing private again. One, the government has the right to tell you how to live. What happened during the medical crisis is a good example. You had no rights. And what's happening even after that, they haven't really fully relaxed the measures. They have just paused it. For example, you cannot enter certain countries. We don't want to call the country name without you having a certificate.
Yeah.
So, there's a bias.
Say the country name, but why? USA.
Right?
You have to say it. I mean,
and that's one of the most, in transit, that's a country that's, it's not, you see, you have to understand, it's not the US per se, it's all part of a global system. The US is just part of this global regime. It's just a player, just like China, Russia, all of them are players.
And who is the person in control of the country? Because
they're all players.
Depending on who the leader is of that country, they will play the game. Like, for example, Brazil's leader did not play the game.
It's not what you think. The world's a stage, like Shakespeare says. When you're a global leader, and look at history, if you don't play ball, they'll try to remove you. Look at Saddam Hussein. He was in bed with the US. In fact, he was fighting Iran, and he was a US man until he decided he's going to sell oil in Europe. Right after that,
Gaddafi was, I remember just before he was killed. He was killed. I remember our foreign minister, I think Cedil Rington, had gone to visit this man there, and people were happy because this man was an African leader who people praise. I mean, this man has been in office for umpteen years, but he had ensured, well, he ran a socialist state because he ensured that people got free education, free health care, almost free everything. I mean, that's what he did.
The country was wealthy.
But they were wealthy, they had oil as well, and they were very wealthy. And he was someone who was getting everybody, getting all his African comrade leaders together to be able to have their own currency and block, like real block, but with their own currency.
Once you do not play ball,
and that's when they went and they tarnished his name. They tried to throw all kind of allegations at him, and then they sent and they conspired with particular persons in that own country, and then they went and they took him out. What's his name? Barack Obama sent and killed that man. This was an African leader that I don't know if any other country had such an, and I've met a lot of African leaders, by the way, some of them.
It was the richest African country in the world at that time, by far.
This man was.
By far. Just to show you too, look at, you might not agree with Mr. Trump's policies, it's not Republic, but when Mr. Trump did things that the globalists didn't want, because he played ball sometimes, but there are other times like with the climate change. They smeared him in the media.
Yeah, because he went and he said he's pulling out from that, and all these people, they have been paying.
Like in the WHO when he pulled out from there and so on. So if you don't, and I'm sure they probably hanky-panky in the election, I'm not too sure about that, but I'm sure the media had an effect of the hatred towards Mr. Trump. It was definitely, they smeared him and his eventual removal of office. And so if you don't play ball, I don't say I agree with all his policies, but I'm showing you an instance that if you don't play ball, you can't play ball halfway, like how he was doing. Mr. Trump play ball in certain areas, and certain areas you don't play ball. It doesn't work like that. You have to play ball, hook, line, and sing.
And the media, you brought up a good point, Brian, because the media has been the prime partner, I would say, or tool that they have used, their weapon, depending on how you look at it, in terms of ensuring that the people follow
Correct. And
what
like
their
I said,
agenda is, the media, and this is what you call MSM, the mainstream media, the main media, the CNN, the CNN, NBC, MNS, all those main one, the
ABC, NBC, CNN.
Yeah, all those usual ones. Yeah, and then the newspapers as well. Those are the ones, the main ones.
New York Times, Washington
Economist,
Post, those are
all of these, even Britain, they have their
the Economist.
And so when they push out the narrative, whatever the narrative is, that all of them will push it out. We had told you before, Brian, you were here, when we told you, we said, okay, after this pandemic, we already, what's the entity that they go undercover? Jarivas or have you, anyway, and they went and they listened to this man from, I think it was
Project Veritas.
Project Veritas, CNN, I think, or someone of them. And they were talking to the main person from there, and he was saying the next item, the next topic that will be pushed was climate change. And so said, so done. And all our Caribbean leaders, they're right there.
Yes, like I said, if you want to survive, I just use Mr. Trump as an example because he's the most powerful president in the world, and he couldn't resist.
He had to do it, and all our Caribbean leaders,
if you don't play ball, you will be removed. You will be removed.
And you will see just about all of our Caribbean leaders, they play the ball. And I guess they play the ball, and even the ones that we will say we admire and all that, they play the ball to ensure that they continue and they are not removed from office. And I mean all the one that you will say, from this country and that country, and all those Caribbean leaders that, you admire them, all of them are.
I just use Mr. because I said you.
I don't want to use the word puppet, but what is another word for people who just follow? Sheep? Puppet?
They are
follow the agenda.
Yes, they are independent entities. They are subject to a global
They're not
power.
Like the Brazilian president. No, he did not follow. And what did they do? Just like Trump did not follow. And they went.
You have to play ball.
And they manipulated that system.
I am in no way endorsing any of their policies. Whether I agree or disagree.
Well, I will tell you, I endorse a lot of their policies. So I am not
but I am looking at it from a scientific perspective. They oppose certain policies, and this was the consequence. So I'm looking at it from a fact.
They were very nationalistic. If you look at these men, they are very nationalistic. And you can't knock people who are nationalistic if they're doing it for the good of their country.
I'm just showing you.
Hold on. The world, the global agenda. If you are weak people, like we mainly have weak leaders. If you are weak leaders, you will just follow the agenda. And that's what we have, especially around us. That's all we have. We have weak leaders.
And most of Latin America.
So when you had that Brazilian president, that one man not following, and I mean with fairness, even Venezuela, when you have these leaders not following, and then you even had Cuba, you have these 1 and 2 leaders not following the flow, they will go after these leaders, normally men, because they will go after them and they will discredit them, and that is what we are seeing. And so when you need to start to look at leaders and see how they will follow through, because we went through something, as a matter of fact, 3 years now, and we still have not recovered from all those lockdowns. It's been 3 years, and I'll tell you, because again, I'm in the tourism industry, and I'll tell you we have not recovered. And I don't care what you hear from the Belize Tourism Board. That is hogwash. Maybe 1 and 2 of the entities,
big business probably
they have gone back. But the smaller entities, they are still suffering. I'm telling you, and even the business entities, and they are still struggling. And those are in the Chamber of Commerce as well, and Belize Business Bureau, they are still struggling. So what they're saying and reality on the ground is totally different. It's just like when you hear about poverty, you will hear a certain percentage, or you will hear about unemployment and you will hear a certain percentage. But what you know and what you feel and what you see on the ground, even inflation, it's totally different. And that's what you call real. That's a real. You understand? So I just want people to understand that Rachel Ann, Elizabeth Baloramos says good night. Good night to you, Mr. Plummer. Kelvin, good night. Adolfo Carlos Garcia again, good night. Nancy DePaul said Trump will be back 2024. And she says South Africa.
This is what happens in the global world. Just want to show you that once you become a member of the global community, you have to play ball, or else you have to be very strategic in order to survive.
Yes.
Not easy. You can, there are ways, but you have to be foresight, because watch how Venezuelan President Maduro survived.
Yes.
Fidel Castro survived. Iran's president survived. A lot of them, so it's not impossible.
But they're surviving, but how is their economy?
You understand?
At what expense? How is their
Correct,
economy?
they destroy the economy, but...
And they do it to prove a point, people.
But the mere fact that was what that helped them to survive, in the sense that the leaders use that to galvanize the people and say, you see what they're doing to us, and we will not let them, we are not a weak people, we will fight them to. So yes, they did that, and all those leaders that were successful, I noticed a trend. They used that they're destroying the economy to galvanize the people. I heard speeches from them.
Yes.
Several of them. I heard from Fidel Castro, I heard from Maduro, I heard from Iran. They said to their people, we are not a weak people. They cannot do this to us, to paraphrase.
Yeah.
We will not give in to them. So they use that as a plus.
So with this digital currency that will be coming about, like I told you, to a great extent, a lot of us...
It's already started, but what will it's just like everything else. You know, when they roll out the vaccine, or when they roll out, they start out in phases, and they start with a certain target group. It's very similar. They have a plan where they will do it in phases.
They have a saying, power corrupts and absolute power.
Lord Acton.
It corrupts absolutely. It totals, and that's the thing. Because see, listen, if you continue to have this fiat money, average person still they can have their money. You know, mom and pop, they save their money. They have it.
You can't monitor it.
And you can't monitor it. You can spend it.
There's no record that you gave me $20. But if I transfer $20 to your phone or wherever, you have a record that I gave you $20.
You know exactly what that money is for. So if you want to buy something, I don't know, let's say, you know, people might buy
condoms or something.
Yeah, these personal items, right?
You don't want people to know that.
Everybody will know you're buying these personal items because, you know, or let's say somebody is sick. All right, let's say somebody is sick, and this is what you guys will have to be looking at, especially those of you who may have certain illnesses that you don't want people to know about. So let's say you have an illness and you have to buy medication. You understand?
There'll be a record of
there'll be a record that you're
buying. But if I go to the
medication.
drugstore and pay cash, there's no record.
You understand? Everything. I mean, if you go and want to take your sweetheart out, you understand? That record will be there. So husband or wife, and I'm not condoning these things, people. I'm just telling you what will happen.
And it's a whole group. Don't fool yourself. It's all a conglomerate plan where you have the carbon credit. We have the car in most countries, including Belize. They have moved from the analog meter to the digital meter for your electricity, for instance. Now, that tells you exactly how you use current, and it could be hooked up to a computer. It's different from the analog.
And the carbon credit, and I'm glad you mentioned it, will be linked to it. So if you are somebody who will be using and say, no, I will not get an electronic car, and I will continue with my gas vehicle, immediately you will have to be paying out so much carbon credit. You understand? And you will have a quota.
In
And so when you
Australia-
stop that, boom.
In Australia, they have a tax for how much more mile you travel. Recently, they passed a law in England for Canterbury and Oxford, 2 cities in England, where in 2024 you're going to have 15-mile city, where you cannot go more than 15 miles from where you live without permission of the government. You only have 100 trip maximum for the year, and if you have a family of 3, I guess you have to divide that.
You guys understand this? And this is already
So
happening
it's
in
being
Europe,
tested.
people.
It's being tested that I cannot travel. They call it 15-minute city. Look it up, Canterbury and Oxford. It's not. They already passed the
They're already looking
legislation.
at in Australia, and there's, what is it, Netherlands? There's some
Netherlands.
Netherlands as well. I'm telling you, you can't, and even to not be able to
In
get on a
Netherlands
plane.
too. Yes, in fact, they have that in 2050, there are some forces that want to ban planes, flights.
No, and this is real, people. We are not just. This is real. It's just
You
like
can
I
look
told
it
you
up.
in
It's a plan.
California when it comes to vehicles.
By 2035, you have to have an electric vehicle. Or else
You see
can't
what I'm
drive.
saying? And so what they do, they will expect Belize to follow, because if Belize, remember, Belize
It's
is
part of the international
looked at
system.
as just a little arm of these main countries. We may think we're independent, or we may call ourselves independent, but that's not how our leaders act. Our current leaders, and not even only current, even just before, our leaders
From
to a great
independence
extent
onwards, let's see. It's
have
the same.
not acted in an independent manner. There have been just several times when you would have seen our leaders, for example, when COVID, I remember when you had a boat come in, and our leader at the time said, no, we will not allow that boat. Remember, we will not allow that boat.
That was during the it wasn't during exactly somewhere around that, but it was for not COVID, but not for COVID. It was for the other disease,
SARS?
not SARS. It was what's the other one that you bleed? I forgot the disease. When there's a disease that you bleed. I forgot the name. They didn't want the ship to come in. Yes.
I thought it was
out
COVID,
that-
but the point is that it's
Was it
just several times.
Ebola.
Ebola. It's
Ebola,
just,
yes.
okay, if it's Ebola.
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
just
several
Ebola,
times
but-
that this has happened. And we have to understand that when we get leaders, to a great extent, you have leaders that it's very rare that they are revolutionary. It's very rare that you see revolutionary leaders
In Belize, I could say we have never had such a leader.
at the national level.
No,
We've never at the national level.
National
We have
level.
had, and I'll tell you, I've served at the municipal level, and the whole purpose of getting in, there are certain things that I did not agree on, and even before. And so at the municipal level, I can tell you there's many things I wasn't just a puppet. You understand? And they will come after you when you're not a puppet. They will come after you when you're not a puppet. And so, but at the national level,
No, I don't know of any.
most of the
I
time
don't
they
know.
follow what
Correct.
these
They dictate.
organizations
But look at it.
say should happen.
Look at it in Belize then. When Mr. Price took over, he went from the pound to the US dollar, and he followed the dictates of the US, bringing we went to the IMF for the first time in 1984. It's all part of it.
Yeah.
It's all we play ball. Why we have never been a country that sink to the bottom. We don't take risks like a Jamaica who opposed U.S. policy sometime with Michael Manley. No, we play ball 100%.
And they said no to the IMF at one point, remember? They did. So it's just very rare that you will see
But
countries.
they punish them. That's why
Say no.
the Jamaican dollar at one time was stronger than the U.S. dollar. Now it's about 152 to a U.S.
But okay, Adolfo, Carlos Garcia says awareness and consciousness is what the program is all about. I always learn something. Thanks for sharing. Thank you very much, Adolfo. Gregory Morrison says, I like you guys. Thank you, Gregory. And Gregory is in LA, and I know that We have other people watching from abroad as well. But I want to say also, Nancy says, what will happen if you don't consent to their nonsense? And hold on 1 second, Adolfo Garcia says, we Belizeans have never had a leader. These so-called prime ministers are just put there by money, pure corruption. Belize needs a true, bold woman prime minister who will show us how to do it. Women in Belize are better administrators and leaders. So that's the thing. And yeah, I mean, what will happen?
Well, the example, the beta test, was the COVID protocol, where if you don't comply, you can be restricted. Of course, you can't go into the store without a mask, or of course, you can't travel without the PCR. So they will have restrictions where if you don't comply, life will become difficult. In the modern world, tyranny will come under the form of convenience. Your life will become very difficult if you don't.
And listen to me.
You can survive, but it'll be difficult.
Listen, they will come at us in such a way that we will start to think that we are doing it for ourselves, that we want it. For example, if you look at the history of rock music, I was watching something, rock music, when hip-hop came on to play, remember everybody like their hip-hop? Everybody like, I remember I was university, I was in Washington, and you enjoy, you went and you would enjoy it. And people loved it. I was in California, people loved it. That was a thing, man. Everybody loved this thing, and I can honestly say, it wasn't like real degrading and things. I mean, people loved it. It was just
more of a
party music. So we loved it. Even at university, we loved it. And what happened? First, they thought it was going to be a phase. Oh my God, it's just a fad. It's just a phase for the black folks. It's just a phase. This music will go out. This music will go out. The only music that will stay will be classical music and pop. And what happened? It did not. And they saw that black people in particular really sink their teeth into hip hop, and it came out with rock, and they started to identify with it, so they started to use that as a means to express themselves, and at the same time express themselves, enjoy it as well, and make money off it. And what did they do? Certain people, and that's when they speak about these people from, and I will say it because this is what the history shows. Certain Jewish leader, and I'm not saying if all the Jews, I'm saying certain Jewish persons who came and they say, okay, we will be promoters, and they started to be the managers and the people who control hip hop and rock music. And it went from, oh yeah, and people are dancing and positive music, to now saying, calling your sister and your mother and your girlfriend bitches and hoes. And promoting gang life, and oh, you're going to shoot this one in the head, and you're going to pop a hole in the brain, and you're going to ganja and weed, they started to push that, and
but it took a lot of time, because if you up until it.
So 1 second, let me just say one thing and then you can go ahead. So you see how they moved that positivity, and they started to have these men, these boys, make money, and they selected them, make money by turning that once good thing, fun thing, into something whereby it's pushing, and it's okay now to kill your black brother, call your black brother and sister nigger, bitches, whores, and your mother, and pushing this negativity. So they now control it, and now they say, hey, but you're the one calling yourself nigger. You're the one calling yourself nigger. So we're not calling you nigger. You say, and it's true now, because now black boys and black men now think it's okay to call them, what's up my nigger, what's up my nigger, what's up my nigger. I don't call anybody nigger. And what's up, bitch? Oh, and you see even our Belizean women and Belizean girls putting up, oh, I'm a bitch, I'm a what they call it, I'm a boss, bitch, and I'm like, wow. So these people don't understand their work.
The power of language.
You understand?
Language is very important because what you think, the way you talk is expressed. They call it, some people say they call it spelling because word puts a spell on you. The way I could get you angry by just what I say. It's like the power of words.
Yes, what you say and how you say it.
Correct. So the long and short of this is that it's all part of a system of control, centralized authority. The world has moved before World War II to now. Before World War II, most people didn't even know that before World War I, you could travel the world without a passport. It seems crazy to people. The passport came in, it's a process that, no, you can't travel without permission. You need a passport, but you know people are traveling without passports.
And things were simple because before, and then even before 9/11,
so
2011, things were easier. I remember when I went.
So it's a system. I want you to see that it's not by accident. It's a system over the years. They're getting more and more control.
More and more control.
And people are.
People are accepting it because of certain events.
To show you how weird, I traveled in Trinidad, traveled in Jamaica, traveled here, and in the States. And when I talk to old people, 190s, you know there was a time even in the United States where you could just take land and you don't have to get permission for government, and people just used to live. It's all now it's controlled. You can't just go and live. Even if they have an anti-squatting law in Belize, you have to get permission of the authorities. But it wasn't like that in the past. In every country in the world, people used to be freer than now.
Yeah.
I notice it by talking to old people. That's how I notice it. Talking to people 90.
Yeah.
They were freer in the older, and over time we have more central control.
And see, what you guys have to understand is that the more they become digital,
It's a digital prison.
We are not, we don't have that heart for our fellow brother and sister. That love and that warmth, that humanness for our brothers and sisters have been lost, and we've become like this cold, heartless technology. So much so that recently you had certain persons, I think in the US, they froze to death, right? Terrible snowstorms, froze to death. And certain people, bystanders, were watching, there's a body in particular, a dead body, frozen, laughing at it. I'm serious. That's how cold people in this world have become. This is our neighbors. They were laughing at this dead body, frozen to death, because I guess it looked funny to them, or it was funny to them. I mean, I can't understand who laughs at somebody who's dead. I don't even think you laugh at your enemy when your enemy dies, if you have an enemy. But that's how cold and heartless, and you see it every day. Why do you think you can have certain people who it is alleged, who it is said that they're to serve and protect us, but these same individuals who is said to serve and protect us can go and coldly, heartlessly go and kill you when they are to be there to serve and protect you? You understand? And you have certain people who are to be protecting us who are young people, and they're not. So the coldness, so all of this is their plan. At the end of the day, it's depopulation, it's a lesson society, and who are the ones who have become so cold as well? Look at who it is, in which area they are pushing all these gangster rap and these rap, so that you have people and you rape them and think no problem to rape and then kill them. It's in the black and brown countries and the black and brown areas. And no, this is not identity politics I'm looking at. This is real life. Because when was the last time you really heard like a lot of white people just coming together and calling their wives, hey bitch, come here, hey ho, come here, or when? Like when? Do you really see that? But you will see black people doing that and black men doing that with the women too. But you won't hear, a lot of times, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, I'm sure there are certain exceptions, but you won't hear white men calling their wives, hey bitch, come here, hey ho, come here. No, but you literally will hear black boys doing that, black men, and we have to put a stop to this because the coldness and the heartlessness is coming at such a point that it's disgusting. So let me just say quickly, Adolfo says, we need to stop being followers and know that God bless us with lots of inner abilities, but people lazy to research and study. We have to rescue ourselves from the collective system. Thanks for all you teach us, Mr. Plummer and Mrs. Moya. By the way, it's not Mrs. Moya, it's Miss Moya. Right. Nancy says, if you consent, you give them power to control you. Keenan Flowers says, referring to a person as a nigger or a boss bitch or whatever is very disrespectful and degrading. As people, we must learn how to address one another, and the level of stupidity is on the rise, and sadly, many have been hooked on it. Nancy, the past agrees.
One thing I want to say is that what you mentioned is called technocracy. The whole with artificial intelligence, where human beings don't make decisions anymore, it's automated. Like in the States, you run a red light, you get a ticket in the mail. Everything, even judges in certain parts of China and Israel, is automated. You cannot argue anything now. You don't have no rights, no nothing. There's a system. You run the red light, you can't go to court and argue.
Actually, they can take pictures. So
everything, that's their plan. Everything will be automated, artificial intelligence. And according to the World Business Magazine, most employments will be removed, and artificial intelligence is the next
artificial intelligence, robots, and technology. And that's why what we also have to look at, though, is as much as Europe has reigned for so long, the fact that the Europeans, Germany in particular, certain countries are becoming old. Their people are becoming very old. And these particular countries are becoming, you will see it and you will be shocked. You will be shocked because you say these are white countries. But you will be shocked to know that when these people start and looked at as, okay, an old country, and it's not only Germany, but Germany is definitely one of the key countries in Europe, they will then be looked at as disposable. Now, the young people, who has the youngest society, population? Which society has the youngest population?
Most Africans and other countries like
that. Africa. The developing world. So you have India, Africa, Latin America.
The developing world.
The developing world. These are the countries that have young people.
And demographic is destiny.
And hence the reason now, they are looking, so we have a very young population, and we have a population to a great extent that's also the poorer population. So you have this older population that is a wealthier one, but they're dying out because they're older and they weren't having kids and so
like
forth.
Canada, like
and so
Japan,
now you have the Africans and the Indians and the Belizeans and the Latin Americans, Mexicans, and so forth. And you have these people now having more kids. So what will happen? What will happen? We will start to outnumber them. We will start to outnumber them. And that's the reason why you look and you would never think that India, or China, we used to make fun, like you said, about China, that, come on, everything that's made in China.
Knock off, not good, but now they could make things that the US can't even make.
And they can rule
supersonic
the world.
missiles, just like Russia. They have technology that surpasses US in certain areas.
So you
And they were
see-
just copiers at first.
So now, the point what I want to tell you though, we cannot give up people. We can't say that, oh my gosh, we must just follow. And our leaders ought not to just be followers. They still have a chance to help chart the way.
I think this is the time to, because Europe and the European world is the weakest they ever been in history. The president of France says recently at a European conference, the time of plenty is over for Europe. They are rolling blackouts in most of Europe right now. Inflation is crazier than almost any part of the world, greater than the US. Their economy is dying because of energy. They don't have the cheap energy from Russia.
Yeah.
It's deindustrialized, lot of place. So they are basically weak, weaker than ever before.
Yeah.
Even the US is the weakest I've ever seen it in my lifetime. The US sent, starting from February, 113 billion to Ukraine, US dollars. And Russia only spent for the whole budget last year, 65 billion. But double. Then remember, not only America was giving money, it was England, Germany. So when you look at the maths, Russia is doing them. They are spending like 3-4 times what Russia.
But what you have to also look at
And they are
is
weakening
about
themselves.
these people. When all this money is being printed to send over, what will happen to the dollar?
113 billion as of last year. That's what, and they're going to spend more.
It will get weaker. So all my diaspora brothers and sisters there, their dollar will be getting weaker and weaker and weaker, and that will affect our economy, especially an economy that is so tied.
38% of our trade in Belize.
To trade and to tourism. And so you have, and even investors, to a great extent we have looked at investors coming into our country, and yes, certain investors people have an issue with, but to tell the truth, we need investment. Why? Because our money is still linked, it's still pegged to the US dollar, and so because we don't produce US dollars, we need foreign exchange to come in. The only way you get foreign exchange to a great extent is, of course, through investment, through tourism, and of course, when
Selling
you
the US
export whatever, and you get payment through that. So we now are at a point where you have a lot of people thinking that things are going to get easier, and some people may even be okay with this digital currency. And as I told you, I don't have an issue with digital currency if in fact I have an option to not have digital currency. You understand? I feel that I must have the right to be able to choose whether or not I want to go fully digital or I want to have a diversified portfolio. But they are moving to the point where full control.
I'll use China because this is the era of China. According to the World Economic Forum leader, Charles Schwab, China is the model for the world now. That's what he said. And in China, in all the cities, the villages are different. You cannot buy with cash. The stores don't accept it. It's not legislated, but nobody wants it. Everything is done electronically. So if you don't have electronic money, it's hard to survive. So it will be like that. China is the model, and then they have a social credit system. If you say something bad about the government, you can't go you can't get a loan at a low percentage. That's the world is moving towards a social credit system.
Let me just say quickly. All right, so Adolfo says, when our people learn to lift up their vibrations and stop feeling as victims, just then our people will have more opportunities with love and respect. Sandy Bradshaw says, not to worry, Europe will pick up and be on their feet. In Belize, we need to move with the times. Today I was told of a prominent financial institution that does not do online foreign transfers. The other doesn't do online transfer foreign. You have to go in person. And I'll tell you, I know that particular financial institution does not do online foreign transfers. And I'm telling you, it is.
I think the online foreign
really,
transfer is
really,
not really their fault in the sense that you have corresponding banking issues. Belize, a lot of banks cannot get a corresponding bank in the US. Remember, we got a declassification of several
Yes, we had
banks
a
in the country.
declassification.
Several banks, so a lot of them might want to, but they're not eligible, quote unquote. I don't know what.
But now, Sunday, let me just tell you now, there's way to get around it now. And because earlier I had spoken about that very same thing and how it affected me terribly, terribly for months. I couldn't get my money, months. And I'm telling you, if someone doesn't have a little safety net, you can go bankrupt. You know, so that's why some people kill themselves. I won't kill myself. I'm just saying some people would do it. You know what I'm saying? Some people who, you know, who can't deal with it. Because there you are unable to get money, your bills are piling up. This is the situation. So this is what we're looking at with this digital currency.
And it won't be just linked to your money. It will, as a whole, biosecurity state. Your medical notice, you have medical records as digital, your water bill, everything will be one big international system.
Correct.
Everything. So, and whether you get the loan, they have all the information there on you, everything. So, it's what they call social credit system. If you do the wrong things, you can't do
listen,
this.
Listen,
so it's a whole system.
I will tell you something. I've never done it, right? I've never done it. And I can put my hand on the Bible and tell you I've never done it. But there are certain politicians, it's just like certain politicians who would do it. If you do A or B, they have their secretary or their team noting that you did A or B or C.
They can't get certain
that
things.
When you go to them to ask for a certain support
like
or assistance,
social credit system.
they already note that you did A, B, or C, or you did not do A, B, or C, and you are cut off for the entire duration.
And it will be digitized, so you know of the system. It's nothing new. It's just being formulated using technology.
Yes.
The same. It's a system that's ancient. So if you don't play ball, they will make sure it's difficult for you to live. Extremely difficult. This is nothing new. The first reset that I know of, and there's probably some before my time, occurred in 1789 with the French Revolution. Some people opt out. The Amish, they don't use no technology before, after the Industrial Revolution. They did not, because they saw it as control, government control. That's why the Mennonites don't vote and so on. They think government is a form of slavery.
Yeah.
You might not agree with them, but I'm telling you what they believe.
Well, and we could see why they would think that.
They don't vote.
And when you look at the Great Depression, what happened, you would see that it is said, you know, I was not part of that, but it is said that it's the government who caused that.
Yes,
it's the government who caused that. And now we
just like how they're causing this economic.
We are in very turbulent times.
And government caused it with the lockdown and so on.
Exactly. Because we just saw what happened over the past 3 years. And imagine now that they will have control over money. Remember, people were sitting at home. They told us we couldn't go anywhere. Sitting at home, and you had people waiting for their little $150 every 2 weeks. Literally waiting for $150 every 2 weeks just to be able to eat. Imagine that. That happened already, so don't think that this is far-fetched and we are just
in Spain during COVID, they passed a law called Universal Basic Income, where you get a stipend from the government, but of course that will come with certain conditions. Yeah. You have to play ball. And that's the way they want to move the world.
Yes.
Where the more central control. This is a pattern of history I notice, that it's nothing new. It's just going off a generation. Talk to older people. They were much freer than us.
Well, listen to what Sandy Bradshaw is saying, and she makes a good point. He says, it's going to be digital all the way. Yes. So we have to deal with the root cause. Since the dear gentleman there is in education, he can appreciate that Belize has to get innovative. Some of the educational institutions can't appreciate the forward thinking of getting financing digital. And Nancy DePaul says, I'm not consenting, sorry. What do you have to say about that?
All right, in terms of, again, all the schools, except a few private schools, are government controlled. Whether it's a denominational school, it's still government controlled because the government provides a curriculum that you have to teach. So in our system, education is government controlled. Teachers aren't independent. They are told what to teach, how to teach, and when to teach.
They get a curriculum.
Yes, they get orders, so to speak. So when it comes to that, it's a top-down. Most people don't see it because they see the teacher and they think the teacher is independent, but the teacher have instruction.
Yeah.
And they have to follow orders or else they'll be out. So it's a remember I told you government means mind control. It's really the school system or our education system in Belize and in most of the world is government run.
Yeah, so we have to now, I want to hear your last word because I want to wrap up.
All right.
And tell our viewers
now
we should do.
as far as I'm concerned, I'm not a bit perturbed of their plans. Just like with 9/11 and with COVID, it's not going to work 100%. They had a plan from in 2016 that everybody, I saw a conference, is going to be vaccinated in the whole planet. That never happened, and that will never happen. The same thing with digitization. It won't be everybody. It's those, no matter what system a man develop, there's always a way around it.
And they'll always be resistors.
Yes, no matter what, they cannot. I show you the Amish. The Amish are doing their own thing. The Mennonites are doing their own thing in Belize. How come they don't have to obey our government regulation? No, they live their own. So there's always, so don't be disheartened or think, oh, it's up to you. If you want to consent, if you want to play ball, there's always a way around it. You have to find a way to feed yourself. Before the Industrial Revolution, 85% of people were farmers. After that, not even 15% of people in the world are farmers right now. People can't feed themselves. Yeah. And it's not farming the old-fashioned way. It's done. It's mostly industries. Where there are an industrial farm now, there are few family farms. So, you have to plan, and I'm telling you, there's a way around it. Don't feel like you have to comply. And even if you use the digital money, you have to have things that you could barter, for example, gold, silver, your talent. Just like how Russia and China and South Africa get around the US SWIFT system by bartering amongst themselves, call it currency swap. You don't always have to use it. I could tell her, you don't have to pay me digital money. You give me X and I give you Y. There's always way around any system.
It's cheaper. Sometimes it's cheaper and more effective.
Yeah, so you don't have to always use their currency. You could find ways to barter with people or exchange. There's no system they could build. I could tell you.
Build a more safer system and a system with heart, people with heart.
There's always a way around it. I guarantee you, any system they build, I could get a way around it.
All right, so let's try to end up. I'll just wrap up by saying this thing. Rachel Balderrama says, digital money would cause many people to lose their money, and the bank will also lose money. Scammer will tap into their system. Yep. Nancy DePaul says, this is an evil system. And Sandy Bradshaw says, my darling, a lot of the Mennonites are ahead of many in technology now. Of course, some opt to remain traditional. Very good show. Thanks. Thank you very much. And with that said, I want to say, guys, it has been so you know, we have these shows just to try and ensure that we enlighten you, just to bring about certain areas.
That you might not hear in the mainstream
Yeah,
media.
there are certain things I try to post, but I'm still very censored. I know that YouTube last week, I couldn't even go on YouTube because they had me censored. And the time before they had me censored, and a number of my videos they've taken down. So that's where I'm at. And then, of course, even Facebook. You guys won't know what the distribution, they reduce it because I speak on certain topics. You know what I'm saying? If I would speak on what they want me to speak on, let's say, what would they want if I would just speak on partying and stuff? Oh my gosh, there would be no censoring fashion and jokes. They just want us to be giggling all day, and you know. But that's okay. I will proceed, and with your support, we will continue to have a show. I want to thank, therefore, Maximum Radio and Television throughout the country of Belize for ensuring that we come live into your living rooms, and of course LinkedIn and Twitter and all of you entities, even Facebook, of course, that we're still on, and all the different other social networks. Good night to all of you. Thank you very much. Brian, as usual, I want to thank you. I know you go back to school next week, so next week, you know, I have certain guests that have asked to come on. That will be, you know, bringing on those other guests. And of course, there will be certain other shows that I'll be on by myself. When I'm on myself, will I cut down my show substantially, I believe. But when I have guests, I allow the dialogue, all right? Especially with, when it's so informative and enlightening. So this show is brought to you through the courtesy of Sea Belize Vacation Rentals, located at 5 miles Philip Golson Highway, just 1 minute from the Halover Bridge. And so I want to thank Ben Ruiz and Michael Salazar from Maximum Radio and Television in studio. I want to thank Kelvin LeBron, Moya Flowers, Master Control Technician. He is in live here with us, so I want to thank him, and I know he goes back to school tomorrow. Tomorrow he'll be back at school. Horizon Academy is opening tomorrow, so he and Natalia will be back at school. And yeah. So let me go ahead and end this show and thank you all. Go ahead. So until next week, again, Tuesday, same time, same place. Peace. Good night.
Looking for the ultimate sea view getaway? Then Sea Belize Vacation Rentals and Tours, located at 5 miles Philip Golson Highway near the Halover Bridge, is your perfect sea view getaway. Come relax in one of our beautiful air-conditioned sea view apartment, studios, sea view rooms, or suites, all with flat screen television, hot and cold bath, and unlimited access to a spacious and refreshing 40 by 16 foot pool with 6 to 4 feet depth, so you can enjoy that fun and refreshing dive or dip in the pool. We sell ice cold drinks, so you can relax and unwind on our overwater or poolside decks. Contact us at 501-615-4485, 65 or 67.